So the other day on Twitter, I noticed there was an announcement for a new Aba Ranger movie. If you don't know Aba Ranger, the Super Sentai series of origin from Power Rangers Down Thunder, they getting a new movie in Japan for 20 years after, seeing where the characters are since the ending of the show. Hurricane is also getting one 20 years after. They got a 10 years after, 10 years ago. But now they're getting another one. So I was like, cool, excited. But then I saw Dino Thunder, of all things, was trending on Twitter. I'm like, why is that? And then I see this post by comicbook.com. It looks like Power Rangers is about to check in on Dino Thunder as Japan is reviving the Super Sentai series. You know, this happens a lot when American publications pick up stuff that's happening over in the Japanese show. They're like, oh, look at what crazy thing Power Rangers is doing, when it's really not Power Rangers. They're just lying for clicks. So in order to stop this from happening ever in the future, I think it's time we talk about the history of Super Sentai in America. So whenever you see a headline like this, just send them the link to this video and there'll be a form. So you know what? Let's talk about it. So in order to start this story about Super Sentai in the United States, we gotta go to one of the states that, are not really in the continentals. Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii, alright? Specifically Honolulu, because Kiku TV, Kiku, they've been a fan of the Kikaida. Kikaida, another Tokusatsu series, Tokusatsu, special effects in Japanese, live action special effects. Did you know that, by the way? Regardless, Kikaida is so famous in Hawaii that they actually still do some Kikaida stuff exclusively for Hawaii. Kamen Rider V3 was also one of the famous Tokusatsu shows airing in Hawaii over the time, and mostly because the Japanese are one of the largest ethnic groups seen in the state. So at times like this during the early 70s when Super Sentai was starting out, we would see shows like Go Renja as well as Battle Fever J being shown in Honolulu, Hawaii. But it's a good thing to note that they weren't dubbed, alright? They were the original Japanese audio of the show was shot in, as well as having English subtitles, just so everyone can understand. But it wasn't just Hawaii where Super Sentai was being shown off to an American audience. It was also found in California markets as well, such as Sacramento, San Francisco, and Los Angeles all had reported Super Sentai showings at the time. This was about 1976, 1977, around there. Jaka was also one of the Super Sentai shown too. That one being reported to be broadcast in Los Angeles. So hey, even in the 70s when Super Sentai was starting out, America was kind of already on board, catching on, albeit slowly in small markets. Moving away from the 70s and into the 80s and moving on to a toy line, a lot of kids in that time actually played with Super Sentai toys and may have never noticed it, because that franchise was introduced via the Gogaikin toy line, which ran from 1982 to 1985 and was distributed by Bandai of America, and featured a bunch of Chogokin and Popinika figures, which were produced by Poppy, which was a Bandai company. And a lot of Sentai robots actually got their toy releases in the United States, nearly a decade before Power Rangers was even a thought. As you can see here, Series 1 that started in 1982, we got some from Dai Sentai Gogo 5, the Gogo Robo, the Taiyo Sentai Soul Vulcan, the Sun Vulcan Robo. Series 2 in 1984 had the Bio Robo from Todenshi Bioman, both an ST and a DX version, both were called Bioman. The Big Scale Bio Dragon was released. That was released under the name Bio Dragon. The Daigenjin from Denjaman was released as the Daidenjin. Dynaman's Big Scale Dai Jupiter and the Dynarobot ST and DX versions were released under the names Dai Jupiter and Dynaman also. Also a funny thing, the Leopardon from the Japanese version of Spider-Man, yes, the Tokusatsu version, was also released in America under the name Leopardon. However, by the looks of it, there wasn't really any Spider-Man attachment to that toy. Series 3 was the final wave here, and we didn't get any Super Sentai, but you may see here in the bottom the Vavilos, the ST and DX versions released as Vavilos from Space Sheriff Shider, which later became VR Troopers here in America, which was a spin-off series of Power Rangers. Anyways, in 1985 was when plans to bring Super Sentai into the US became a big deal because Marvel Comics wanted to hop on to this. They wanted to do an American adaptation of this Japanese series, but was sadly rejected by a lot of TV executives. In 1986 though, Haim Saban and Saban Productions had the genius idea to do an American adaptation too, and tried to make a pilot called Bioman. Even though they succeeded making the pilot, also pitching it to TV executives was pretty bad. They got denied a lot. You know, it's crazy because they did actually get the footage rights to Todenshi Bioman to get for this pilot. Sadly, however, it was never picked up. However, 1987 came and Kagu Sentai Dynaman came as a parody on the USA Network. On a show called Night Flight, it had a handful of episodes. It was a dubbed series, albeit parody-ish and a lot of dated jokes, but it was a thing. It happened. It was also on Nickelodeon, low-key. I made a whole video about that if you want to learn more about that Dynaman period of history. You know, I always love the name formats of the Super Sentai. We should call our squad the E-Sentai Este Ranger. No, that was horrible. Let's stick to E-Squad. Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any single one of my Power Ranger videos. I know a small percentage of you is subscribed, so hello, subscribe, I am watching. But 1993 came around and that's when Haim Saban finally broke gold with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the first installment in the Power Rangers franchise. And how he did this amazing fleet was pretty simple. He took the footage from Kuryu Sentai Zyuranger, deleted the footage where, you know, the Japanese people were, and implemented American actors, you know, making their own story. So really just using the in-suit footage as fight footage, and everything else was shot locally, that being in California. And it became a success. Everyone loves Power Rangers, toys everywhere, costumes everywhere. The #1 highest rated show. It was everywhere. In 1999, they actually showed a few episodes of Zyuranger during the Lost episode, which was the showing of the original pilot for the show, and basically revealing to their audience like, hey, this is how we do it. Power Rangers came from a Japanese show. You know, not a lot of people know. You know, until the internet came around and when people started looking, that's when they found the information. But being a kid in the 90s, you never really know these things unless you watched closely into the credits. I don't know. 2004 though was a big year in Super Sentai in America, because actually during Power Rangers Down of Thunder, see how we came back around that, they actually had an episode dedicated to its Japanese Sentai of origin, Aba Ranger, with making their own dub of the show, cleaning it up a little bit to make it, you know, for kids TV and whatnot. But hey, they did it. They're like, oh my god, they're ripping us off. These Power Rangers in Japan, who told you guys about our powers? It didn't make sense, but hey, it was a thing. But ultimately, it was a nice tribute to showing love for the show that gave birth to Power Rangers. And year after year, we would be right behind the Super Sentai series. As soon as their show was over, we'd be there with our adaptation, getting ready and whatnot. Sadly, though, in 2009, when Disney canceled the show to do reruns of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, a reversion, that's when, you know, we got behind. And when Saban Brands bought the show back from Disney in 2010, there had to be some sacrifices. Two Sentai series, Go Sager and Go Kaiger, would be squished into a 2-year, 1-series show. Go Busters was skipped for a Kyuryuger adaptation, Tokyuger was skipped for a Ninja adaptation, Zyuoger and Kyuranger was skipped so that Go Busters was bought back for a new adaptation once the show was purchased by Hasbro, Lupin vs. Pot Ranger was skipped for a Real Soldier adaptation, and Kira Major and Zen Kaiger would be skipped so that in 2023 we would actually get a 3rd season of that Real Soldier adaptation, Dino Fury, however with all new suits and Zord footage from Kyuranger. All that because Disney decided to make a horrible version of MMPR. Thanks, Mickey Mouse. Comment question of the day: what Super Sentai series would you like to see on DVD, streaming, Blu-ray, whatever? Let me know in the comments down below and leave a like to lock in your answer. I know we're gonna get Deca Rangers soon, that's the one I want, but hey, ultimately, I want to see Go Andra, alright? Where's Dad at? But that's Power Rangers history, right? 2014, nearly 20 years after Power Rangers came about, was when people finally got to saw Super Sentai legally in its original form. Shout Factory, the ones who distributed the DVDs pre-Samurai of the show, also releasing that big DVD case set with a helmet. I always wanted that when I was 13. Mom, Dad, I'm still waiting for it. Hello. They announced that they're releasing Kuryu Sentai Zyuranger on DVD. And this was big news because, hey, we finally got Super Sentai legally with subtitles officially out there, co-signed by Saban, later Hasbro. It was released the following year in 2015, and ever since then, we've been getting hella Super Sentai DVDs for the shows following Zyuranger. Up to this point, we're in Aba Ranger right now. See how we came back around it again. And we also got some previous Sentai releases like Jetman and Five Man. Also, I have to mention, a lot of these shows are streaming for free right now. You can go to Pluto TV and watch them on Tokusatsu, or you can go on Tubi, search up Super Sentai, and boom, there you go. You can watch them for free. That is it. That is the history of Super Sentai in the United States. A little more than what you thought, huh? Did you learn something today? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, ddonfuego. I'm also on Instagram, not Don Fuego. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. And of course, and as always, stay awesome, everybody.